Welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast with your host Eric and Tiffany Vogel. We've spent several hard years building a rental property portfolio so we can have more time with our family and live our ideal life. Now, finding your path can be difficult, so we're here to guide you along the way with lessons, tips, and tricks to design and implement your dream life. Now, sit back, turn up the volume, smash that follow button, and get ready for this episode of the On Purpose Investor. Hey Pathfinders, welcome back to the On Purpose Investor Podcast. I'm your host Eric with the beautiful, lovely, amazing, pregnant
Tiffany.
How you like the intro?
It's very subdued for your normal Eric.
Well, I usually get into that whole getting weird on the Eric. But, I'm trying to rein it in a little bit. I know, we're unveiling some new branding here, trying to get into like a upper businessy look. And maybe I need to break up with the old habits.
Oh, okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. See, what had happened was...
All right.
Anyways, welcome back, Pathfinders. And today we are kicking off episode number 26, talking about money. And this whole season, season 3, we're talking about objections that you may have as a listener or people you may know getting into the business that just come to you with objections that they have why they can't get into real estate investing. So today we're diving into money. How is money an objection to not getting started?
Yeah, a lot of people say, I don't have enough money to invest. And the thing is, you don't have to have money to get in the game. You can get started, and we'll talk through some strategies that you can take to immerse yourself in the business and learn and educate while you're earning money. And it doesn't cost a huge, $10,000 chunk of money up front to get in.
And that's what a lot of people think. They see people that buy rental properties and what they see is the sticker value of that property.
And then they think, I have to put 20% down.
Right.
And that is not what you have to do. It's an option. It's a strategy, but...
We've never put 20% down.
No.
On any property.
No.
And that was because we studied up on how to be creative on the takedown.
Right. But that's not to say we don't have at least 20% equity in the properties.
Right.
So there's a key difference there. But the cash invested does not have to be 20% down or more.
Right. So we'll start out with how did we start with very little money? Because now when we say we didn't have a lot of cash, we literally mean that. We didn't have a lot of cash in the bank. We had some access to some retirement money. I was 27, 28 when we got started. You were 25, 26 when we got started. And that means we hadn't been contributing long to our retirement accounts. And when we got started, I was still a teacher, so I couldn't access that retirement account to begin with anyways. But I did have a tiny nest egg of money that when I joined the National Guard, I said, I'm just going to live my life as if this money wasn't there. And I'm going to put all of that into a thrift savings plan. And I kind of forgot that I was doing that. And when Tiffany and I started looking at real estate investing, she's like, you have a TSP, don't you? I was like, yeah, but I don't even know how to get into it. I hadn't logged in over 5, 6, 7 years. And finally got logged into it and saw that we had, $25,000 in there?
I don't recall
maybe
how much
30.
it was, but, not quite. Because after you left teaching, we moved that money over. And that's how you got the larger amount.
I think I had 20,000 or so.
I don't even think it was that high. I think it was like maybe 10. It was not a lot of money. And when you take a loan on your retirement accounts, you can only take half of that amount. So we were taking not a huge chunk of money out.
Right.
To help us fund our portion of the down payment or the renovations. Mm-hmm. So we took loans on our retirement accounts, and then we would do BRRRRs. So we'd buy a house, fix it up, do a refinance, and then we'd pay that loan back. And
you left out the key step of the BRRRR. Rent.
Well, of course.
You got to rent it out.
Yes. So once it was stable, rented, we take that cash out, repay the loan. Sometimes we didn't. We just held the cash for the next deal.
Right. Because
we realized very quickly there's a holding period.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So we couldn't touch the money.
They're like, thanks for paying off your loan. Wait 6 months before you touch it again. We're like, we want it now.
Yeah.
We got another deal. We need it now.
Right.
So we quickly decided we're just going to keep it pulled out.
Yep.
And and keep redeploying it within house.
We had friends that used a very similar strategy. They did not have any retirement accounts when they started, but they had paid off cars.
Yep.
So they would go get a car loan, basically. And I don't know if they went to title ponds.
No, this is what... So our buddy told us, he said, yeah, we needed cash, and we didn't have, the ability to get into 401ks and stuff like that. So we'd have a paid off car note, and we'd walk into the bank. And we'd show them our title, and then we'd show them the blue book value and say, can you put a note on this? And then they would talk in-house and, write them a $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 check, which is probably only like 20 to 50% equity of the value of that car. And so it's very low risk for the bank, because now they have a, $40,000 car for $10,000 or whatnot. So it was just their approach, and it was their way of getting access to money. And we've talked about it. There were times when we started that we were really cutting it thin, and we needed an extra $5,000 here and there. And if we didn't have other financial friends, that's where we would have went. Yeah. We would have absolutely taken our car title into, our local credit union and say, we have this car note. You can come out. The car's in the parking lot. You can check it out. It's a nice car. It's fully insured. We'll list you as the additional insured or the primary insured. It's safe. Yes. We need $5,000. Right. We would have begged for money.
And we could have also done personal loans that are unsecured. You pay a higher rate, but there are ways to get cash if you need it. But we'll talk about some strategies where you don't have to have it. That's just what we did. We also use 0% interest credit cards to fund some of the rehab. And then once we do that cash out refi, we'd pay that off and not pay 25% interest anymore.
And then it's so strange, because over the course of the past 3.5, 4 years that we've been doing this, we always use that credit card for those rehabs. And when we'd pay it off, about 3 or 4 weeks later, we get an email, your credit line's increased. Right. Your credit line's increased. And now these cards that started off as $10,000 are now like 60 or 70.
No, they started out at $3,500. No. So we had just a few grand to play with. Right. But it was enough to keep us rolling.
And those credit lines have just skyrocketed. Yeah. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, just, pay off your card regularly and spend the money on it, and they'll increase your credit line. Be careful, though. You got to be responsible.
Yeah. So when we first started, we signed up for a year 0% interest promo. So we weren't paying interest over that first year. Mm-hmm. And then when that year ended, we went and got another card with another year, and if we had to carry a balance, we'd carry it on that 0% interest.
We would make sure that our holding costs included that payment. Right. So that we weren't, underwater with a credit card. Right. And we knew it would
be when we did our refi, if it appraised, and some houses didn't appraise, so we had to roll it until the next house, and then use some of our reserve money to pay it back, which was not ideal, but it doesn't always work out the way you planned. But when we got that refi back, and the appraisal back, the plan was the money would go to pay off the debt we accrued. Right. To renovate that house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fun thinking back to how we started and where my mind was with money when we first started. Like, I couldn't fathom that we're writing a $2,000 check or a $5,000 check. Yeah. And now my mindset with money is, I can't believe we're only paying $10,000 for this service, or I can't believe this check is only $20,000. Your mind just changes. Yeah. In the sense of your relationship with money as you get more seasoned. And as, you add more zeros to the end of things. Right.
It's all just another zero.
Working on a $60,000 house is a lot different than working on a $400,000 house. Right. It just changes your mindset as you do it.
Yeah. So for us, the strategy that worked was really just finding good deals. We bought most of our houses on the MLS. That was just where the market was. And we had really good search criteria and had a system that worked for us. Yeah. You might have to find deals a different way. Especially things have shifted over the last 4 years. So we would find great deals, get 100% of the purchase financed, and then we would cover the rehab and the closing costs. Right. But I want to add, that was still under 75% of the ARV that we were financing because we were finding deals at a discount. So we're not saying go take out 100% leverage. That's definitely not what you want to do.
Yeah, don't do that.
But if you can find a good deal and find a private money lender or a hard money lender that'll give you 75%, then you can buy it with no money down.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would upfront the rehab. Sometimes they'd cover part of the rehab or all of it.
Right.
It really just depended. And it took time of building relationships with those people too. It wasn't just
they're not just
our
going to
first
hand
deal.
you money. It's
Right.
relationship building. So it definitely was built on the shoulders of communication, trust, friendship, and responsible behaviors.
Right.
So.
After you pay someone back 3 or 4 times, they trust you a
And
lot
they
more.
have financial friends where they can say, yeah, they're the real deal. You can loan to them. They're going to pay you back.
Right. And they value the house that you're purchasing and make sure that that's a good deal.
Right.
So your reputation matters and the deal really matters.
Right.
So some strategies you can do that don't involve any cash outlay. One is master leasing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we came across a couple years ago.
Now, just for the record, we have not master leased, but we have master leased some of our homes out
Right.
to other
So what
investors.
is master leasing?
So master leasing, so I'm going to do it like this. Tiffany, you are a landlord, and you're kind of tired of dealing with tenants.
Yes.
And you've been doing this for 5 years. My name is Eric, and I am just getting started. And I want to learn everything there is to know about being a landlord and owning rental properties. Can I please rent your house so that I can rent it out to other people? So I'm going to sign a lease with you for a little under market value. And then I'm going to go rent it out at market value. The reason I'm renting it from you at under market value is that you don't have to deal with the tenants anymore. You
Right.
only deal with me.
Right.
I deal with the tenants.
Yep.
And so I get the capture of the rent from where I'm renting it from you to end user, the tenant. So there might be an extra $150, $200
Usually
there.
it's a 10% spread that
Right.
the master leaser gets.
So you're still going to make money on this because you already have your spread figured
Right.
out. Your cash flow is $200. Your cash flow is not changing. I'm capturing the growth on top of that by renting it from you. And then let's say the market grows over the next year, we can discuss upping my rent to you and my rent to the tenants.
Right.
So it's kind of arbitrage in a way, but it's an agreed to arbitrage, and it's a way for me to get into the game. I'm learning how to landlord. I'm learning how to deal with tenants. I'm learning how to run a rental property like a business. You still get all of the perks of a rental property. You keep your depreciation. You keep cash flow. You're keeping that asset to grow in your portfolio.
The appreciation.
And what am I getting? I'm getting access to the skill sets for being a landlord. I'm getting the cash flow that's on top. And I am gaining your trust that maybe one day when you become really tired and really done with rental properties, you're probably going to sell that house to me.
Right. Right. So there's a strategy in doing a master lease with an option to purchase the home.
Mm-hmm.
So that means in 15 years, you can buy the home from that tired landlord
Right.
for an agreed upon price.
And there are
Or-
go ahead.
Or there's another way to do it as a right of first refusal,
Mm-hmm.
which means if they decide to sell the house, you have the option to buy it first.
Now, that's not always very free to get, right? In order to get a right of first refusal, you might offer that landlord and say, instead of 10%, let's do 8%, and I get a right of first refusal.
Right.
So you're going to keep more cash flow, but I'm going to get that right of first refusal.
Right. Right. There's
So you give
there's
them something.
a number of ways to approach it, but the overall introductory strategy is it's kind of like a property manager, but a lot of states require property managers to have a real estate agent license.
Right.
You're not required to have an agent's license because you're not managing the property. You're leasing it from that landlord.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different ways you can structure it. For the details of how to do this, if you're really interested in it, I highly recommend David Tilney's Hassle-Free Property Management course.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I learned it. It's great info, and it gets you started. So I think his course is $5.99. So drop a few $100s, and you could learn the strategy that will make you several $100s every month.
Yeah, and think about it. If you go and drop $600 on this course, and you're able to find just one tired landlord, Or maybe they're not tired. Maybe they got something else going on and they can't deal with it anymore. They're not tired. They're just, disassociated. And you reach out to them and you say, hey, let's do this. I'm going to master lease from you. And now you're getting $100 a month. Well, in 6 months, the course has paid for itself.
Yeah.
And now you are, on the, what do you call it? In the black.
Yeah. And I know he is doing a course just a couple weeks after this comes out. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested, I would go right now and look. They fill up pretty quick. So if you're interested in doing this, I would jump on it right now.
And, I've heard that David's not going to be teaching like much longer. Like he might be just, hanging it up. So this could be one of the last times to see him. But, there might be a few more opportunities. But I wouldn't chance it. I wouldn't risk it. Go now and check out the show notes and click that link to see where is he teaching and when is he teaching.
He's doing a Zoom class.
And can I get there? Yeah.
And it's coming up a few days from the release date of this. So,
okay, good.
And they do fill up quick, so it might already be full at this point. But if that's not an option, there are other programs out there that teach it. But David's is the one I definitely recommend. So if you're interested in some of the other programs, reach out to us on social media or email, and we can hopefully point you in the right direction.
And if you've read the Pathfinder's Journey, you know that we recommended David Tilney within the book as well.
Right.
That's the course that Dan recommends to Charlie and Liza to go take so that they can figure it out. And there's a great little story within the Pathfinder's Journey about their experience at David Tilney's course. So if you haven't read the Pathfinder's Journey, go check that out, and you can gain a little bit of introspection about what do you gain from courses like this.
Right, definitely. All right, so another strategy outside of master leasing is wholesaling. And wholesalers have gotten a bad reputation over the last few years, probably last decade is my guess.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain what wholesaling is?
Well, so let's do this example again. Hi, Tiffany. You are a homeowner.
Okay.
And you are looking to sell, but it's not on the market yet. And somebody sent you a mailer, or someone knocked on your door, or someone cold called you and said, hey, I want to buy your house for cash right now. That's me calling you. Ring, ring. Hey, Tiffany, I want to buy your house right now. And you say, well, I didn't know I wanted to sell, but you know what? It doesn't sound like a bad idea. I think I'll sell. And I say, okay, Tiff, I got a great deal for you. I'm going to pay you $100,000 for this house today. Can we get it under contract? And you say,
yes, I guess I'm not negotiating with you.
You're not negotiating.
In this example, yes, I will take your price.
I show up to your house, or I send you an email with a DocuSign, and boom, we're under contract for $100,000. Now, me being so smart and intelligent and bright that Eric is, I know that this house is actually worth about $180,000 fixed up. But as is, it's worth about $130,000. So I take our $100,000 contract, and I go find a friend. And I call him up. Ring, ring. Hi, Dan. Do you want a $180,000 fixed up house for $130,000? It only needs about $10,000 in repairs. Do you want this house? I'll sell it to you for $130,000. He says, whoa, I've been looking for one. Let's do this deal. I send the contract on assignment to Dan, and I assign this contract to Dan, and he accepts the bid or accepts the contract for $130,000. When they go to the closing table, this is where
there's a couple different ways it can happen. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't think it gets confusing.
It can,
but basically you walk away with that $20,000 spread.
30.
No, you're. Oh, was it 30?
So I bought it from you for 100, and I sold it to him for 130.
Okay, so the difference between what you bought it from that home buyer versus what you sold it to your friend for, plus whatever advertising costs you have is
maybe
your
I
profit.
said 120.
I think you said, I don't know.
Anyways, you get the spread.
Brain,
you get the spread, right?
Good.
So you get the spread. Whether he bought the contract for 120 or 130, you're getting the spread from 100 to that.
Right.
At the closing table when the end buyer buys it.
Yep. You have to be very good at negotiating to do this. You have to be good at finding deals. And the reason wholesalers have gotten a bad reputation is they are getting houses under contract that need a ton of work, and there's just not enough room for that flipper or landlord to make their money.
I would say there's an array of things that have gone wrong for wholesalers. Number one, the biggest thing that has gone wrong is that wholesalers have gotten very greedy with their contracts. Our $100,000 contract, they would try to skinny it up as much as they can and say the house is worth $180, needs $10,000 worth of work. I'm not going to leave you as a flipper any room. I'm going to sell you this contract for $170.
Well, I think a lot of it too is not being able to get it under contract with enough of a spread.
Right. Exactly.
So the seller says, "Oh, I really need $150." So
Yep.
they get it under contract at $150, but that leaves no room for closing costs and everything else for that flipper or end buyer.
What you got to keep your mind set on in the whole aspect of real estate investing is that it's a people problem solving business. You got to solve problems. You got to solve problems for the seller. You got to solve problems for the end buyer. You got to solve people's problems. And if what you're doing is trying to just line your pockets and that is your first motivation is to make a bunch of money, you're not going to find a lot of success in the long run.
Right.
You might find one or two deals here and there for 40, 50 grand assignment each. And yeah, you made 150 grand, but to what end? You have ruined your reputation. You'll probably likely not get any more in the future.
Right.
And no one's going to trust you as a wholesaler anymore.
Right.
But if you can repeatedly find good deals for buyers, and you can continually solve problems for sellers that are in a situation, then you will be a good wholesaler. We've met both ends. We have had wholesalers send us deals that, I'll look at it and say, how did you not get this under contract for less? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, you obviously did not communicate with that seller what the realistic outcome is.
Right.
And you're not going to sell that house. And what happens to that seller is they're stuck. They can't sell this house to anyone else for the entire time that thing's under contract. And we've seen
might lose their house. They
Yeah.
might be in a foreclosure and
Right.
lose their house because a wholesaler made a promise and then doesn't.
And they locked them up for 10 days in this, in this contract, or 30 days in this contract.
Right.
And they can't sell it to someone else who really wants to buy it for
Right.
what they want or what they need to get out of pre-foreclosure. And then what happens is the wholesaler, he just calls them up. Well, actually financing fell through, can't buy your house, click buy.
Right.
And what is that seller doing
Right.
now? They're moving out of that house into a hotel with a foreclosure on their record.
Right. And we had it happen to a good friend of ours.
Absolutely.
And we warned him because we had kind of a feeling this is what was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but they had a contract sent over and were ready to move forward. He already purchased a new house and was ready to move out, and the wholesaler just said, "I can't do it," and then disappeared. And now he's left trying to figure out how to get his house sold.
Right.
So if you're going to do it the right way. Care about people.
Yeah.
And we highly recommend Vena Jones-Cox out of Ohio. She has a great program. Real Estate Goddess is her branding, and she'll teach you how to build a business around it and how to do it right.
And she's got a good podcast radio show out there, Vena Jones-Cox Show.
Yep.
So go check her out. She's got great content. She's super intelligent and really breaks things down in a way that you, the end user of the material, can really put to practice.
Yeah, definitely.
So half pie deals.
Yes.
So this is another strategy for new investors that don't have a lot of money, or maybe you're a seasoned investor and you ran out of money.
Right.
How do you keep moving? How do you keep moving in this market if you have no money?
I feel like that's relatable for us right now. We're kind of at the we should start looking at these because we really don't have the cash to invest right now.
We just got off the phone with someone. He's like, "Hey, do you have 180 grand for this house, for this 10-unit apartment complex?" And I'm like, how about I come into the deal with you and I just bring all the money and you do all the work? And so actually Tiffany just heard about this right now, so we'll see how that shakes out. Yeah. But anyways, half pie deals.
Yes.
Walk us through it.
So one of our good friends and mentors in the book, he's referred to as Sammy. Mm-hmm. He got his start doing these deals. And it's basically you find someone to bring the money and you show up and you do all the work. You renovate it, get it rented out. They bring all the money. You take half the cash flow, half the appreciation. So when you sell it, you pay off the money side of it. So they get all their money back, and then you split the upside. So
what's in it for the other person?
They have money but don't have the knowledge or time or desire. to find the deal and manage it. So they get a return on their money that's pretty healthy because appreciation, I think, is like 6% on average across the U.S. And that's just house appreciation. And you can split this up. It doesn't have to be 50-50.
Right.
You can split it up in a way like this. Your money partner might really need the tax write-off. So you give them 100% of the depreciation and you take more of the cash flow.
Okay.
You can structure it in a way, make sure it's a win-win for both sides, but you split the deal. We had talked with a money lender about him taking the depreciation because we didn't need it as much at the time, and we were going to take a larger chunk of the cash flow. And
the deal didn't work out, but
no, we wound up not getting the deal.
Yeah, but it would have been a well-structured deal that benefited us. That's a happy note.
Yes.
You know.
So there's 100 different ways you could structure it, but the idea is you bring in a financial partner, and you have to make sure you have a great partnership agreement and very clear in paper and writing what will happen when you decide to sell the house or if things go bad, and you know what happens if they need their money back. How do you handle that?
Right.
So make sure you have it all in writing, but it's a really good way to get you started. You get equity, you get cash flow, and you have an opportunity to learn with someone kind of helping you through, because that person putting their money up is going to keep an eye on it and make sure that it's running well.
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, at the end of the day, some of the pie is better than none of the pie.
Yes.
You don't want to be in a situation where you just decide not to do something or have someone else decide they're not going to do anything because, you know, you weren't there to help them, or you weren't willing to help them, or you weren't willing to accept someone else's money or time or you know, knowledge or experience. It's easy to get greedy in real estate investing.
Right.
It really is easy to get greedy because the money's good when it's good, and it's easy to say, well, I really need that $1,000 a month cash flow, and if I can't get $1,000 a month cash flow in that one property, I'm not doing it, because I'm going to go find another deal where I can. Wherein, if you said, okay, I really need this $1,000 a month in cash flow, but I don't have the funds, or I don't have the time or the experience to do it, go find someone that does. And where are you going to find these people that do? You're going to find them at meetups.
Yep.
You're going to find them at RIAs. And, you know, meetups, you can just go on Facebook right now and search up, you know, real estate meetup.
Right. Or BiggerPockets has a great search also for RIAs and just general meetups.
And listen, you don't have to be experienced to go to these meetups. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why different meetups are just not slam full all the time, because it's so useful. The knowledge is great. And just being in a room full of people that are living the life that you probably want to live, just being surrounded by them and just being a fly on the wall, listening to them talk, listening to what they say, you're going to get insights into where the market's going. You're going to get insights into, you know, what are people charging for rent, or what is most of the people in this market, what are they doing to find deals? What are they doing to, you know, keep tenants paying? You just get so much knowledge into what's going on in your local market.
Right.
And if you're not going to local meetups and you really want to take real estate investing seriously, that's probably the biggest change you need to make in the next 30 days.
And usually they're low cost to get in. So
our meetup had a hyperinflation like 2 years ago. It went from $2 to $5 a person.
I know.
I mean, that's
breaking the bank.
I know. Anyways,
all right,
I'm off my soapbox.
Okay, so finally we have mobile homes. So mobile homes are a great strategy to get started in. They're high cash flow, low cash invested, and you can help people. I mean, if you have interest in buying mobile homes, usually you can get them on owner financing,
or some people call it seller carry.
Yeah. But where the person who is selling it to you will cover the financing of it.
Yeah.
Because they still get their cash flow, but they don't have to own the property. And then you can do the same thing when you go to sell it. You could sell it to your tenants and give them an opportunity to be a homeowner.
Right.
And you get the cash flow from the note, but...
And there are a ton of different strategies with just within the mobile home sector. And we have a good friend, Adrian Smood, who wrote a book on, you know, how to invest in mobile homes, and it's out there on Amazon right now. So if you just go on Amazon and search mobile homes, Adrian Smood, or Mobile Homes Adrian.
Yeah.
You'll see his book. His marketing scheme has been very consistent for the past probably 10 years. Bright neon yellow. You'll see Adrian's smiling face there on the front or back. Go check out his book, because he does walk you through all of the different little nuances of investing in mobile homes.
And he's also doing courses where he teaches the landlording and flipping of mobile homes. So highly recommend checking that out. But mobile homes are just another strategy that you can use. I mean, you can always look at buying stick-built houses and finding ways to do it without huge chunks of money down. But these strategies that we've kind of talked through are different ways to buy property and be involved and learn and start building up cash reserves, so then one day you can go buy a house with, whether it's 20% down or, creative structuring where you don't need that large sum of cash.
What the biggest thing that these strategies all have in common is that it requires a lot of work from you as a beginner or as someone trying to continue your journey. By investing with little or no money down, you're going to have to put a lot of work into figuring out the strategies and making them work. You're going to have to pick up the phone. You're going to have to talk to people. You're going to have to go to meetups. You're going to have to go potentially knock on doors.
Right.
It requires a lot of work that you can find that time to do that. Just jump back to the last episode where we talk about time as a constraint on why you can't start investing. And now it's money. We've given you 2 ways, to move forward and begin as an investor now with little or no money down. So find the time, and you don't have to find the money. You just need to find the time to go put in the work, because we've now given you some ideas on how to get into real estate investing without any money. But
you have to learn. You can't
have
just
to learn.
do it. So that's where we've provided some resources on how to learn. And at the end of the day, if you think you can't do it because you don't have money, your mindset's probably the issue more so than the situation. So what can you do to change the way you look at the world and yourself to make it work? You don't have to have good credit to do a half the pie deal, because your credit's not coming into question.
It's your work ethic that is.
Right. So your reputation, that's what matters. So it's going to the local meetup consistently and talking to people and really putting in effort to learn. $600 for a 3-day course to immerse yourself and learn how to master Lease could change your life.
Right.
And the systems that he teaches makes it very low effort to, and by he I mean David Tilney, makes it low effort to manage these properties. So you could create a business for yourself managing properties for other people that takes you, 5-10 hours a week maybe to manage a handful of properties, and and you're generating enough cash flow to save up to buy a property.
Right.
And then you already know the systems of how to manage it. So you're not spending your Friday night fixing toilets. You have systems in place. So
you've already built a network of people that you know who to call.
Right.
Because you've been doing it with this master lease. Now you can use that same system on your properties.
Right.
And and really automate your business.
Yeah, so find the strategy that works for you and your tools and what you have available in your toolbox, and just get started. Whether it's buying a book or a course, or take some small action to get there.
Here at the On Purpose Investor podcast, our biggest, drive to our listeners and to our supporters is that you're being intentional, that you're being hyper intentional about chasing your dream life and getting to and achieving the goals that you've always wanted.
Right.
And figuring out your why and getting there. But when you chop it down to daily actionable steps, and you figure out what's in your toolbox, and you realize that money's not in your toolbox, then we're trying to give you those skills to say, money's not in your toolbox, but you have a go-get-em attitude, and you're a good people person.
Right.
That is in your toolbox, and you can use that to your favor, and you can become a real estate investor tomorrow. Right. If you put that to work. Yeah. Being a real estate investor doesn't have to be this far off fantasy that just seems like a vivid vision of a dream that you once had. It can be reality. Right. And it can be tomorrow.
Right. I mean, we met someone fresh out of college at a seminar. He came up several times, asked good questions. Overnight, he listened to a couple episodes of the podcast, so he showed that he was really interested in learning. and we lost contact with him for a couple months. Mm-hmm. And he reached out, sent us an email, and we have offered to have him master lease for us.
Yeah.
So it was just him showing up to the seminar. He didn't know that coming to that seminar was going to create a job for him in the future.
Right.
But it was his drive and desire to be in real estate that we could see, and we want him on our team.
And maybe you're listening to this from across the country, and you're not in our market to come, hang out with us. I promise you, there are people in your market that are looking for what we were looking for.
Right.
There are people in your market that are looking for a young, hungry person to come in and show them that they want to be a part of it.
Right.
And they're willing to put in the work, and that they're going to save you so much time and energy, and they're going to make it worthwhile.
Right. Yeah.
So I just get so energized when we talk about, just the hustle behind it all.
Yeah.
And the intentionality of it
right.
all. I get so pumped.
Yeah. I mean, if you have money, that's great. You can shortcut a lot of the obstacles that come with real estate investing.
Right.
But if you don't, there are tactics and strategies that work even without any cash.
All right. Let's get Eric off of his soapbox.
All right.
And into back in the house.
Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about how you can start investing with limited financial resources. What lessons can you take from this podcast and apply to your life? Don't let the time you just invested go to waste. You only get one life, so live it purposely. That's all we have for you today. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to onpurposeinvestor.com and sign up for our newsletter to get all the latest updates. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate an honest review wherever you watch our podcast. All right, now go smash that subscribe and follow button for more tips on building your dream life. See you next week, Pathfinders.